Welcome to Tea Party Media and Gutenberg Podcasting Meetup, Got Pod Radio online event, talking about podcasting 2.0 initiative, value for value, namespace tags, new podcast apps, etc. So you can see here if somebody will join the live thing here. I've shared the link in different ways. You could share it with the long link URL for participants that then you could then see video and audio and participate in that way. You could also share the one that you when you create the event, and so you could be an audience and watch and listen and write in the chat. So we'll see how it's working, and I could say this now for Gecko. I had both one called an extreme mastermind extreme powder, like an energy powder. It's calling like thing for energy, and also that say out to pass here. See here. Hello.
Hi, Martin.
Hello.
I'm on my cell phone, so
Yes.
I'm a bit like you were this morning.
Yeah, that's okay. Do you see me?
No, I don't actually.
Yeah.
I only see your image.
Okay.
I'm gonna
So
try to join on.
that's probably
Yeah.
what. Yeah. If you do it on audio, that's what happened when I did during the office
Okay.
hours. So it's
Okay.
something with the functionality there that we could
Okay. So
take a note of.
I'll come in again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Great.
I'll do a note of it, and I'll see you shortly.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. Bye.
Right. So I do a shout out to Paz here that knew about yerba mate, and this is a, you could say, an pure. Hello. So how are you doing?
Okay. I'm good, and you?
Yeah, good. So
I'm fine.
I shared this. Now I'm doing a recording also. So did it pop up for you also that it could be recorded?
Um, no.
Okay.
Oh, I see one little red dot. And I guess that means recording.
Yeah, it's recorded, but you didn't get any notification that like they have on the
No,
Zoom. So then you have to
no,
tell. But it's good that it's
no. And in fact, that's actually a good thing. I'm going to note that down as well,
yeah,
because you should at least be notified. I mean, I can see the red dot now, but
yeah.
yeah, I'm
So
going to.
is it only the host, because that's a very good indication. It pops up. Are you ready to record or something like
Yeah,
that? But it could be good for the guest also. Of course, you when you browse over here, you probably understand that it's a recording. So
I mean, we had started putting it into our like invite thing to say you will be recorded, but it's much nicer because I'm always interrupting everyone to say, "Hey, I'm going to record," when
yeah,
everyone's like in full flow.
yeah,
Um, but it would be much nicer if the machine came up and said, "Hey, it is recording."
yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
And in a friendly way, because otherwise it could be like the Zoom is like a robotic thing coming up, and now people are also used to it. They don't really
Yeah, they don't get offended.
no offended, but they don't really think about it either. So it's a
Yeah.
fine line here. But maybe you could write that in the description and so on also. But yeah, so
I mean, I guess the best thing is, and we've been trying to do that, is to say, "Hey, we're going to record now,"
yeah,
and then
okay,
people have got a chance to,
yeah.
um, yeah,
So now I did it for the test, and we'll see if somebody else will show up also. But when I did it when it was only me, otherwise of course you could wait and see. But I want to see the whole thing from the time that when I start.
yeah. I've been trying to enter on my iPad,
Yeah.
but every time I click enter, it just bounces back to the screen. So
Oh,
I'll
okay.
just have to stay on my phone.
Yeah, okay, but it's working also, and it's as we know the technology, and again the seamless thing, it's working really nice both on the phone and the web. So so that's
Yeah,
good. That's good to know. But now I'm getting used because when you if you want to share things and so on, it's easier on of course on your computer. But as an
yeah.
audience or participants, I have liked to be, for example, on Zoom to do this, how to say, when you do the benchmarking, that the app has often been almost better. Because the other ones, it's when it's starting some, app or a program in the background on the computer, and taking some time. So that's so. So it's no good to know how people are using the tool. So
Oh no, absolutely. I'm just
so
not sure why it won't work on my iPad because then it's
no,
a nicer, bigger screen, but
yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah, so
Um,
we could check that. So it was interesting again to test sitting at the cafe, but it was good that Niklas then muted it because it was music in the background. And then the next
yeah,
time
yeah,
when I joined, because I was managed to, I was thinking of doing something with an emoji, but it was the signal how to leave instead. This, the hands signal,
okay.
it's for emojis, but it's also on the phone. The hand signal is to leave. And here on the
Yeah,
web,
like to say goodbye. Yeah.
yeah, here on the web, the same similar icon is for emojis, but on the phone,
Okay.
it is a red one that's saying leaving, and the chat and the emoji at the same time, because they
That's
have to
interesting.
shrink, as you see, you have to shrink all the different icons and options on the phone compared to a
Yeah, yeah,
bigger screen.
absolutely. And they're a little bit hidden.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's neat. Again, this is to test, and I could say now for the record that I will do this kind of event, online event. I'm shooting for once a month. I had physical meetings, so this is like a meetup thing. So it's also on the meetup group that I have, Gothenburg podcasting meetup, and this funny play with words, got, and that's the initials for the airport
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah, you
Gothenburg.
said. Yeah.
So
That's
it,
actually
I
very,
mean, but
very
everyone
clever.
is welcome here. But it started out like a physical meetup,
Yeah.
and then I tried it, and then I saw that it was an interest. But then, of course, it's competition with all other things coming on. So now I want to do it online, and then now and then I want to have a physical. Now when we are in the spring and later on the summer, we we can have then in Gothenburg and meet, for example, over a cup of tea or coffee or beer or whatever. So
Oh,
so that's my plan,
absolutely.
and do it
Nice.
once a month. And I think for record, often then on the meetup it was saying. Come with like a device that you're using for listening to podcast or recording a podcast. Yeah, so you could, for example, bring your microphone or show something like if you're a podcaster. I
Okay.
I got this, and but it was also welcome everyone who listened to podcast. Maybe they are interested to get a tip on. So that was one of the questions for the physical meetup. What podcast do you listen to? So
Yeah, that makes sense.
but then of course it was more drop in. I mean, in on a physical event, it's same with Facebook. Will you come? Will you not come? Or maybe. And
I
then
mean,
and here we have the
yeah,
possibilities with this one. Share a link, as I did now on LinkedIn. I think more people will see it then afterwards and think, okay, did I miss something, or will it come again? But
yeah,
now when it's recording, again, the whole thing is to, when I'm thinking more and more of it, podcasting 2.0, and the whole thing of building like your own town hall square, or like a, yeah, like a town square or town hall, or a place that you could come, like a fireplace, as we said, or pizza party or whatnot. So it's doing it on a regular basis, and start with it. So
I see we
uh,
have a visitor,
yeah, but
and I'm actually managing to come in on my iPad as well.
okay,
So I'm going to drop off this. Oh, I'm going to
okay,
drop off one of them.
yeah. So then it
Oh,
was
that
like
was a bit nasty.
yeah, that was like a round yeah, but that's interesting. That's what I did with Niklas when he had like two events on the same time. But when he ended up, he said that one he would do for recording with this conversation that he had. So that's good that it's working.
Nicholas, we only see your image.
Okay,
If
do
you
you
came
see
in,
him?
you have to come
That's
in with your.
interesting. I don't see
I see him.
people. Yeah,
Oh,
okay, but why don't I get any notification
I
that
don't
somebody
know, but I
entered?
can see Nicholas in the chat.
Yeah.
So, Nicholas, I came in like you, and then I had to go out and come in with my video on before it could see me. I don't know if that makes a difference, but
Okay, that's interesting because
if you look
I
under
didn't get any
people,
notification on the dashboard. I had to click on people, but if you don't see any notification that somebody enters, then you could miss them, right? So now I could open the people
and
one.
you could be talking about them.
Yes, but in a way it's good. That is very
And actually, I tried.
yeah. Continue.
Yeah, I tried to enter earlier on my iPad, but I had to download Whereby the app first.
Yeah,
Um, and the minute I downloaded Whereby, then I could come in.
yeah, and
Um,
there we have a seamless thing
just so
again.
you know.
That you want to have it. I do screenshots here. Well, you want
Yeah.
to have it, but of course, it's again, is if you have underlying technology. I mean, even there with, I mean, big players like Zoom or Meets or whatever, that could happen also. That something is, happening, and then you're getting in some strange loop. But then I know that I have
No,
to
absolutely.
click on the people thing, and see if
People.
somebody's entered the room.
Yeah.
But it would be good if it's like knock knock or. But of course, if you have a big one, because this one, how many Niklas could you have? Is it like 200 or 100 or on the events?
100, I think.
Yeah, so that's, I mean,
I think it's
I'm not
100.
shooting for 100, but if you will have a knock
Oh,
on the door
600.
every time, then it will be, annoying.
I know, but I think I know in Whereby, if you've got a locked room, you can actually in the meeting unlock it so everyone can just come in at a point and then you can lock it again.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but not on Heartland on the proper Whereby app.
Yeah. Okay. But this is good. It's working. So how does it look, Niklas, from your view when you see it, like an audience? Is it looking good? And then we have a chat. I see you. Yeah. Good. So now we have had the so-called in Swedish. You have something expression, Terry, called akademisk kvart, academic quarter.
Goodness me, how do you ever pronounce that?
Yeah, so like academy or at the university. So that's
Oh,
in a
okay.
way, as I am not religious, but it is coming from the monks that when they had the how to say mess or when they have this church thing going,
Yeah.
they had when they were ringing the bell, they had like 15 minutes to wake up or go from their living place to the church. So that's what this academic quarter or 15 minutes is coming from. So in school, at least back in the day, every hour or like a class hour was like 45 minutes, because with every between every class you had 50 minutes to transport you from one classroom to another, or going over campus and so on. So we joke about it. If Swedes, and I'm not a Swede in spirit, but if you say that you will have a meeting at 5 p.m., you're there. Some people are there before, to be on the
Yeah,
safe
yeah,
side. But
absolutely.
but in the academic way, and I think that's at international also. The teachers know that the students and others could come 15 minutes late, and that's okay also, even if it's And if we would talk with pass, if to joke a little bit, in South America, especially in Spain, you have this mañana because
Well, yeah, and
and
here we call it African time
yeah,
because people just rock up when it suits them, and we
yeah,
always go, yeah,
and I'm all for
okay, yeah.
I'm
If
all
I'm
for it.
inviting someone to my house, I say you can. We'll be here from 6, but come in African time. So
Yeah,
if you're there before 8, you're still cool.
and this what I want to have, like a pizza party or a fire. I mean, around meeting around a fireplace. But even this kind of thing, it's okay to drop in because it will be recorded. But it could be also that Niklas he missed the joke about himself, right? That we were talking about him. To joke with you now, Niklas. So that you never know. But of course, you could watch the replay or recording. So now it's 50 minutes. So do you have any question or thoughts or ideas about what's podcasting 2.0? I
Well, in
have
fact,
I am
I have
certified here, so I will
to
show
say I
that
don't
for the
even
record.
know what that is.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I don't even know what podcasting 2.0 is.
so I will put that in my title now on Twitter and on LinkedIn that I'm so-called certified. It is that I have donated approximately $125 to this podcasting 2.0 podcast with Satoshis over time, and then they sent me this T-shirt.
Okay.
So it's nothing like if you're a coach or something like that. It's more like a fun thing, but it's also a token of appreciation. If you again,
Oh,
it's walk the talk. So, but it's a very bad name in a way. SEO to try to do a hashtag for podcasting 2.0 or as you said 2.0 but they had to pick something so it is to
yeah.
protect preserve but also extend the RSS, the really simple syndication and everything that comes with that. So in the introduction I talked about namespace tags, and this is very technical,
Okay.
so a listener doesn't really care, but it's important for us as podcasters. But I want to spread, that's why I'm doing this, to spread this message to the listeners, to partakers, to sponsors, everyone who wants to be included in this workflow and things, what's going on, as we have talked about freedom of expression and things like that. Because it could be that big players want to do something with the RSS and put them everyone like so-called exclusive or only on one platform like and I now I'm maybe looking old here, but lots of younger people are saying I'm listening to podcasts, and then you say, okay, where did you find me or where did you listen to that? It was on YouTube. And then I could ask, and I don't want to be an besserwisser, I said, how do you subscribe to that RSS podcast on YouTube? You can't. You could follow the YouTube creator.
Yeah.
So then you are only exclusive on YouTube, but on an RSS, and that's
Uh,
the fine thing with podcasting. We have an expression here, Niklas, in Swedish. I was first irritated about that phrase because if you don't know, you don't know, and you want to be included. So you have that expression in Swedish. Poddar finns där poddar finns. My podcast, like Ego Netcast, is available where you could find other podcasts, right? But
yeah.
Terry, if you don't know what a podcast is, and still like maybe 50% haven't listened to a podcast yet, then
I
they
mean,
don't know where to find it.
yeah.
But that's the beauty of it, because if you have a smartphone and have a podcaster app, or as you call it, podcatcher, download in the RSS, then you could listen to it. But if you say, for example, a Netflix movie that's exclusive for Netflix, you can't watch it on HBO, right? So this is the whole. Now you're coming again here, Terry.
I'm I'm coming in on my ooh.
Now
Okay, I'm going to leave
one you
this
have to
one.
mute. Yeah.
I came in on my computer now. Oh, hang on.
Could you send an
Oh,
invite? Okay. So then I have to go to. Could I open a new, because now the window is totally open. Could I click on, no, then I have to open a new tab.
No, I mean, I tested the raising hand when I was on my iPad. I wanted
Yeah,
to test it here to see if it works. If you don't mind, while we're chatting.
no. Because Niklas asked, could he get the participation link? And now when I have opened the live, it looks, I can't, move around to without close, I think. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I have to open a new tab with Heartland, and then I go to my community, and then I go to the event, and then I click on these ellipses, the three things, and then I copy it, and then I have to go to the. So that's in a way it's good that it's focused only on what you're doing and not other things. Uh, did you get that now, Niklas?
Martin, could you see that my hand was raised?
No. Did you take it down? Because I don't see any.
Yeah, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah,
It worked.
it worked. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
great. And this what I shared on LinkedIn, but on like Twitter and so on, I use the short one. So
Wow, I got a double tab now. That's interesting. It double tabbed me, so I got an echo. So it opened up in a new tab, but so I heard the audio and the video, they were in two tabs.
okay.
Yeah, we are learning.
Yeah. But and it was interesting what you talked about. Now it's like product placement, like what you said, Riverside and the audio quality. And I
Yeah.
like what we could do here on live event because it's more live, so the audio quality will not be the same as more on podcasting. Talking about this podcasting, but
Yeah.
still it's good enough. Then I download it, and then I have to go to service to convert it from what is called web M or web, yeah, to MP4.
Web movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But it's very nice. It's easy to download it, and this service is great, Niklas and Terry, to do live event. It's very easy to, and also this countdown it's great also, and the calendar thing. So it's everything is in the place now. It's to remind, repeat, and rinse and continue.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
So this is
And
I'm planning to do several different online events, but this on podcasting meetup that I have physical also I will do once a month. That's my goal, and I think I will continue talking about podcasting 2.0 because it's so important and so crucial, and you could do it in different ways, but we have to learn and test and talk about it. And there it comes what you have talked about, the new features that is coming in play, how you could support in different ways. That's one part of podcasting 2.0, but you don't have to focus on this value for value monetization, but that's one important part. The other things with podcasting 2.0, and again, Adam Curry says it's not the best name, but we had to pick something, right? So it's the development of it's nothing in a way. It's not new. It's more extended, or what do you say? They haven't changed anything.
I think it does the trick. I mean, it's
I like it
you
personally.
understand that it levels.
Yeah.
It's something new. So it's
but it's also open. So I mean,
I
you
don't know
can't.
what version of Windows we're on.
Jose? What did you say,
No,
Terry?
sorry, I think we're getting some feedback here.
Okay, yeah.
I was saying that we've been on Windows versions, all sorts of numbers.
And that's what talking about
I was
as an
interested
Apple
in this.
fanboy. You wonder sometimes you have to skip some numbers because it was safer and you could wait. But this is podcasting have been around since around 2004, and I started 2006. And this had worked until now, but with the things that we had talked about, freedom of expression, big players that trying to corner the market, deplatforming, but also the positive thing that you could extend it also, like for example value live item tag. You could see that you're going live. You could put in this RSS name tag that where you are. So it could be a podcast, Terry, about South Africa, for example, and maybe I want to listen to that when I'm a tourist. That doesn't mean that you have to air or record in South Africa, but it's about the topic. It could be also that you add in the namespace the guests, the co-producers, and so it's all kind of interesting things included. And that's, but what I'm here is because I'm not a technical person. We as users and fellow podcasters have to talk about it and the importance. So the listeners would start value it and react and say to maybe their favorite podcast play. Why don't you have new podcast apps, or why don't you have this feature or whatever? And we as a podcast have to go to the hosting company and say, if I would continue to be a customer here, you have to develop. Because this have been, as you know about how do you say?
Does it?
Yeah. Does it what?
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit curious. I'm like
Yeah.
coming in, and I think I know some stuff about it, but
Yeah.
it's like is one of the tricks that podcasting 2.0 will get an RSS feed from every podcast, so you can literally have every podcast is going through the system. Is that the thing?
Yeah, that was from the original, from the beginning, but now it's that you're adding new features. So that's the whole thing. Yeah. And also that it can, for example, if you own your RSS feed, you can't be deplatformed or shut down or whatever. You could take your RSS feed and go to somebody else or self-host it. As a new media advisor, I would not recommend it because it's lots of hard work and it's lots of technical things. So I want to go to hosting, but it's very important that you can't be, as you have talked about. I mean, if you're on a social media platform, it could be gone tomorrow. A Facebook group could be closed down, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
But my podcast could never, in a way. Of course, if I don't pay the hosting company, I have done. I mean, I have my first podcast, Egonetcast. My first episodes was on Blog Talk Radio, but I'm not a customer there anymore, so they are gone. But that's my bad. I should, of course, saved it somewhere. And that's why, in a way, you could do it yourself, but it's more technical way. Of course, you could, for example, put it on this internetarchive.org. That could be one thing. So you could do it in different ways. But podcasting is, the RSS is that it's independent from the hosting. It's yours, so to speak. So
yeah,
but yeah.
But
Continue.
if for example, if we were go to like I'm now thinking of Artland, if we were to go to your archive, like for one of your pods, and then we will take the RSS feed, could we then like take all the with the RSS feed go back and get all the episodes?
Yes.
And then we could have all the episodes, like make your podcast social.
Yeah.
So we could have a community for
correct. And that's, I mean, it's a big play. I mean, like, for example, I have my Egonetcast page, and I think you should have your own .com or domain for safety reasons also, if you could afford it and you have time to it. But that's why I like with your services also. Now, Terry explained about the sites page.
Yeah.
And I trust Heartland that the Heartland will be for so-called for forever. And with Squarespace, you have your own blog there, because even if you don't pay in a way, maybe it disappear anyway. But the whole thing is you could have your own domain, but then you have, of course, to have to pay every month to keep it. So you can have a podcast on Squarespace, for example, also. So there, So the whole thing is that it should be archived. You should be able to find it later on. You should be able to play it in all kind of different ways. So that's what I have, in a way, pulled your leg. But then you have to think about it. Should we go that direction? But say, for example, this live event, could I so-called subscribe to that? Could that be RSS? But then you should, of course, think, is that in value? Because you could download it and you could then upload it on like Vimeo or something like that. But like Substack, for example, it's so hot now, a newsletter service, and they have started with podcasting also. But it's not really an RSS, if I understand it. So nobody outside could subscribe to. You have to then be a paying member to that Substack user or content creator. So it's not the whole way, this open thing. And that's like, for example, the big tech company, a big music player, starting with an S in Sweden. They say now, use our app. And like the biggest podcast out there, money-wise, is Joe Rogan. He is exclusive for Spotify, right? But you have to have Spotify's app in order to listen to it and watch it. And then you could ask, is that then a podcast, or is it exclusive material for a certain channel or distribution place or whatnot? So that's one of
the. To merge a little bit yeah.
So podcasting 2.0 is like development and extension about the podcasting, the field.
Yeah, because like what I'm thinking is, of course, if it's like, I think that podcasts are like they are like a very rare phenomenon, because like it's the human voice that makes you get to know the person. It's become so intimate, like, okay, so how is this person like reasoning with his guest or her guests, like, okay, and like the topic, and it's long form often. So in most cases it's quite long, so it's really like intimate. And I think it would really fit for community. So you could have a community like, okay, what should we talk about next time? What's the next guest? Or like, we're having this guest, like a bit like we did the interview now with, which is kind of a pod interview with Matmissionen, where we asked for the questions before, and I think, like, I didn't have a chance to talk to our guest afterwards, but I think it seems as if he liked the idea of guests coming with questions. So
good.
This is, of course, a blurring. I mean, it could also be like,
It's one that I stumbled on by it was Kylene that asked about it, because we have had an idea to do a podcast together, and maybe we'll do that in the future about hot and spicy foods and hot sauces. She was very keen on that, what she could do with it. Of course, with the time and energy and so on, and what's your return on investment with the energy and time. But then she said, could you use a service called Rumble? And I was like, Rumble, isn't that video alternative to YouTube? But it's also a name of a podcast creator called Rumble. So that's a bit interesting. It's like a European French one. So it's not the American Rumble, that's more like alternative to YouTube. But there, so I had to think about, is this a real podcast or not? There you could like, I could have a meeting with you, a conversation, but you reply to my questions by an audio message. And then I could put it together myself. And then I personally, I had to wrap it around. Is this a podcast? Should I be open, or should I be, not close-minded, but, what's a podcast? But then I was thinking, I like, as you said, you hear the thinking, the dialogue, but that's my flavor. Some people want to have the answers and tips and tricks, and they don't really care if we are doing it real time. And now it's blurring also, because podcasting now could be live streaming with live item tags. So
they can.
So but this service it could be good, for example, that you invite 10 different guests about the topic try to get them on the same time, right?
Mm.
But instead you send your questions to the guests, and they record it on their device when they have time, and then you put it together through this Rumble. So I said that to Kylene. Oh, that's interesting. I haven't heard about this. So how do you find it? So it's an interesting way. So you will see these blurring lines. So I'm not, if a kid saying I'm watching a podcast on YouTube, I will not say to them that's not a podcast because you can't subscribe to it. But personally, I'm thinking that how could I talk about it so that people understand the value of a RSS? So this could be really interesting.
Definitely, and it then meets the whole Web3 argument. I need to phone just very short and check where my youngest daughter is, and I will come back into the call.
Yeah, great. So
yeah.
So what's your? Do you listen to podcast, Terry?
No.
No.
Is
it
no
reason with the timing, or that you are not used to the way of doing it? Do you listen to radio, like regular radio? No.
No, so I mean, during the day I'm working, and then when I need to relax, I read a book.
Yeah.
Because I can read so fast.
Yeah.
I can read. Sometimes read 5 books in a week.
Wow.
My daughter watches TV.
Yeah.
I lie on the couch and I read my book and half watch and half talk. But I just find the timing to do anything,
Yeah.
when you get time to do all of this stuff. So sometimes if it's a friend of mine who's doing a talk somewhere, I'll listen to it while I'm cooking supper. Yeah. Which I know is quite rude, but it's also trying to do 2 things at once,
and that's a good thing. And that's the beauty of podcasting, that you could listen whenever you have time. It's depending. If 100%. It's a very high level discussion or technical thing, you have to have attention, right? But with
no, absolutely.
Yeah. But podcasting in general is mostly audio. And then you could do other things, and you could repeat, you could pause, you could it's pretty funny. We have a discussion about, but this is also to take the time. With podcasts, you could play on higher speed. I personally talk pretty slow, and maybe I'm pausing. So with podcast apps, you could speed up.
You can speed them up
without it sounding strange. But then you should reflect and say, am I so stressed so I have to cut down the time when I'm listening? Do you understand?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's some of my problem, that if I was reading the transcript of the podcast, I can read it in 3 minutes. If I'm listening to it, that's 20 minutes. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'll read it because then I can just skim read it. But I know that's not.
And you have a point there, because then with podcasting 2.0, one of the important features, if you have a new podcast app, is transcripts. So with this, when I posted on LinkedIn, I did a clip of a podcast of Podcast Index, or Podcasting 2.0 podcast with Dave Jones and Adam Curry. I sent a boostergram, like a digital telegram of gratification or appreciation, with 2,222 satoshis. That's about maybe $1 or something like that. It sounds much, but it's not so much. But they read that on air, and they have lots of listeners. And they say, funny, we don't know what Martin is talking about, because I was rambling. I'm so exciting about what's going on and so on. But they read it on air. And that's the engagement. It's like when you're sitting around the fireplace and Niklas is making a joke. People are listening, right? So this interaction and engagement, it's not about the money per se. In the long run, everything adds up, right? But it is that somebody,
for sure.
Because how hard is it to get the comment, or it's easy to get like a thumbs up, but somebody take the time to write, as I did, a telegram, trying to formulate myself, and then sending money to them. They don't have to read it, but it's good content also, and it's this co-producing. I'm almost getting into their own podcast. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm part of their content.
Yeah.
And if they're doing it live,
I think that's very cool.
Yeah. But
I mean,
this is
I
like these
know, I know we
80-20
don't
rules
like to
again.
mention Zoom, but Zoom at the moment is doing.
What did you say, Terry?
No, I was saying Zoom at the moment, and I
Yes.
know it's not our favorite platform, but it can do a simultaneous translation. So you could read it in Swedish, I could read it in English, and someone
Okay.
else could read it in Afrikaans, all at the same time. And
Wow.
it's actually been quite interesting because I've been to some meetings where we've set it up.
Yeah.
Everyone sets their transcription
Okay.
language,
Yeah.
and I talk and you read it.
Yeah. But
It's interesting, and I
that's
think it's the way
fascinating.
the world's going.
That's really, and that,
Yeah.
the robot thing will happen also. And that's what you did, the example. I liked that very much. I mean, taking time off your time. You were walking and using was it on a voice recording you used on your phone, or was it an app when you were talking with this script?
Yeah, I use Otter.
Yeah, Otter,
Yeah,
okay.
I use Otter.
And that's a
Yeah,
transcript
so
service.
it's just for lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But could you
but
record in
I
Otter
just
also?
yeah, I record in Otter and then
Yeah.
I push it to the script. So
Yeah.
it's a bit poor.
Yeah. But it's cool.
But
I
I
mean,
think it's like yeah, it's
and
I think
Otter was
for
one of
me
the
it's
first one that started transcript, but it's getting better and better. So I, for example, have an post editing program called Alitu. I pay like $30 for that. But doing that, and now as a non-technical person, they have lots of now users. So now they have added transcripts, and transcript is not free and it's not perfect. But this service now I could use in a podcast. But then, of course, you should ask: will the audience so-called demand it? Do they want to pay for it? We are pushing the limit, but it's really good to have different ways of taking in the content. But somebody has to pay, and some have to. Now with podcasting 2.0, you could do also chapters. You could add images. So with apps, certain apps, you could have an images when you're watching your phone that is like descriptive of what you're talking about. But it could be also linked to. So Niklas, if you talk with Matmissionen, it could be that you add their logotype, and maybe and this the savings club, for example, it could be like an offer. So all kind of things. But again, is it any demand for it? How much time would I put into the production? But it will be better and better,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and this is what the users have to also say. We want to test a new podcast app, try to explore, and then. But with the podcasting 2.0, because you know how hard it is for developers to earn money. Either it's free and add ads in it, or it's
100%.
99
Yeah.
cents or $1 or whatever. How many customers do you have to have in order to live on that, right? But
Survive, yeah.
yeah, but if you have in podcasting 2, like the clip that I did is Podverse, and I have interviewed Mitch of Podverse. If you use that, he is included in the split. When I'm using Podverse, I'm sending him satoshis. So this is, if you want to support developers, you use new podcast app,
So yeah.
and you
Okay,
support the
so
whole podcast
if you
index
open up
also.
your app for this, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I understand. That's good.
So when
I
you are
mean,
talking
it's a
with
bit the same
guys,
like we are now talking.
yeah, if you're talking to these guys, Get Albi and others, if they have a technology, but you say, I want to have this idea, could you, like these pod fans, I'm really looking forward to pod fans, is this guy called Sam Setti, that have been from the radio days. He was in net when he was around when Netscape was around. So he knows things for the internet, so to speak. But he wants to
Yeah.
gamification. He wants that users will get satoshis. He wants that you will get this word of mouth marketing, also to find new podcasts, that you log in and get this engagement. So he turned to Albi, say, I have this idea. How could I add this wallet that it's seamless again? So if you talk to these guys, Albi and Sam, and others, and you could say, I have this idea, and then you never know what could
Yeah.
happen to that. Instead of
Yeah.
try to create your
No,
own,
because like,
thing.
mm,
But again,
yeah.
it has to be easy for the user. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I had this wonderful discussion with a Danish community
Yeah.
initiative that they are called Lo-Fi.
Mm.
So what they are doing is like they're inviting people to their home. So it was just like me networking a bit with their founder.
Yeah.
She's no longer the CEO, so we talked a bit about like what was the early journey and all that. But that is of course extremely interesting when you look at that kind of thing. Um, of course, it would be interesting to pay everybody something, like
Yep.
in this kind of thing, like the audience, the person who like opens up the home for a concert,
Yep.
the artist. If the artist does a recording, who should get a bit of money for that? Like the artist, maybe also the home,
Yep.
maybe also the audience, because they created this magic together.
Yep.
The thing is, like the wallet is often too complicated.
Yes.
I think it's still, you know, you're like, oh shit, like I could this be hacked, and you
Yeah.
know that's I think it's we are
And,
still waiting for the wallet.
yeah. And now with like Podverse and Fountain.
Are you drinking gin there, Terry? I mean, it looked like a huge gin bottle.
I'm afraid it's water.
It will, yeah. And I'm drinking yerba mate. So, but yeah, so that's the thing with,
I just had a coffee, so yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So the Fountain and Podverse as one example, and you have other customatic, you could now top off or buy with so-called fiat money or regular, credit card, and you should of course start with a small amount. So because you have to
Mm,
send so-called invoices and so on. But now with new apps, they are doing it for you technically wise. Because otherwise with
mm,
Bitcoin you have to send an invoice and you have to wait, and they had, it is very open and it's like when you go to the bank, they have to check that the check is not bouncing and all these kind of things. But with this is
mm,
it's so easy, similar to like Swish or paying with a card. So
mm,
what you do is you use a new podcast app. You say that I want to. It is again this thinking. Every month I have a budget like Apple Music or Spotify, like 99 kroners or 100 kroners. Maybe in the future say I want to support podcasters or musicians, because that could apply on that also. 100
mm,
kroners or $10 per month, and then you could set up a budget, and then you decide who you want
mm,
to support and how much and whatever. So this with the music industry, for
mm.
example, it's one guy called Joe Martin. He's from England, country music. He's now pushing it out to his fans and others to say, what do you think this is worth? Like, somebody playing it in the street. How much what's this
Yeah.
song worth to you, Niklas? For you, it could be $1. For me, it could be
Mm.
10. For Terry, it could be 100. And you decide.
Maybe
Yeah.
the other way around.
Yeah, but so
So we
this
look
is,
at that
Yeah,
South
but
African brand.
yeah, it will come to that, but it
I
has to
think
be
it's
safe and it have to be easy. And but you,
yeah.
Niklas, don't have to go into the wallet or creating crypto, whatever, if you don't want to, because it's lots of regulations, lots of technical
Mm,
things. Instead is to like this, the whole thing is so-called lightning network. You build on something that's reliable and working like Bitcoin, but then you're doing it more
mm,
easy. So that's the lightning network. That's
mm,
the lightning symbol. That's the symbol for, and having
mm,
applications on that. But again, it's to teach, so-called, or educate or inspire users to test something new, because the users, as
mm,
Top Cochrane or Blueberry say, the users doesn't really care. So we as podcasters and hosting companies and others have to push the limit, and then users will care when they see, okay, I could support artists, podcasters, content creators directly with no middleman. right? But
Yeah.
people have to care and understand and see that they, and that's I mean, take that example as you said, Matmissionen. If they care,
Mm.
they could then save food that they threw away, right? But somebody has to do it,
Yeah.
right? And and
Yeah.
and and also the food companies and grocery stores, they are regulated. They have to throw away things if it's deadline because it's rules there because they are pressured.
Mm.
So then somebody has to step in and say, we could help you with that, right?
Mm.
So this is
I think that's quite cool actually.
yeah. But right now, the
To
market
me,
share
it's
for new podcast
you
apps
immediately see that.
is like
Yeah.
1% or not even that. And again, I will not pinpoint others, but the big players, they have a market shares.
Mm.
For example, like I am an Apple fanboy, it's already installed on your iPhone, Apple Podcaster, right? So it's very easy to use it. So it is to use
Mm.
that if you like it, but also
Yeah.
say,
Mm.
I want to test a
Mm.
new
I
one.
agree. Mm.
So
But Martin,
so
like, I think to me it's like basically how easy is it to get a good thing into the platform.
yeah,
And so I will definitely I put it in a tab. That's the way my memory works.
yeah,
So
that's
now
good.
it's in the Chrome tab,
That's good.
the Lightning Network, and no, because I think we need to start at the base, like really like Gumroad or like Buy Me a Coffee,
Yep,
that kind of thing, to get people started and then make people understand that okay, I could actually make 2,000 here
yep,
by being a contributor somehow,
yep. And
and also
you have said that.
what the guy
Yep,
at Matmissionen said.
yep,
Yeah, he said that they are I'm gonna produce it proper, but it's like 99.
yeah,
But he said something very interesting, that there are actually private initiatives for food donations,
yep,
because they cannot do it. They are behaving as a store with store rules and
yep,
cooling chains,
yep.
freeze change
So
chains
it's
and all
safe
that.
for
But
humans to,
uh, yeah, it's safe. But I mean, if you have food donations or everything, like it's I think that's more of a coordination issue. Like,
yes,
could I go there and get this,
yep,
and who is actually receiving it? Like, who
yep,
is giving, who is receiving?
yep,
So I think, because like you will get some idiots, of course, that will try to destroy this,
yeah.
and
But
some crazy heads. But I mean, it would be really nice, because like there's he said that the main waste comes from households, not from stores.
yeah,
So households throwing away food and shampoo and other
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
I, I have to say, we clean out the fridge once a week. All those little Tupperwares filled with a half-eaten this, and now it's growing,
yeah,
Mm,
um, and it always upsets me. I mean, you spend money buying this food, and 2 days, a week later, you're throwing it all in the dustbin. It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
mm,
So
yeah,
that's something to reflect on and
definitely.
think about. But again, and that's what the Adam Curry is saying. You have to ask. So that was like Matmission and others are good at. They are asking. Could
Mm,
you help
yeah,
us helping others and so on in a
mm,
voluntarily way? No forcing, nothing like that.
yeah,
So I'm all for that. Again, you
yeah,
have to then make your own decision, so it's no agenda or some, that's the thing. So this is again with this technology that somebody has to do something to take an initiative, and then I think you should promote that and support that. But people have to.
yeah.
That's what they are joking. That's what I said in the digital telegram. That these new podcast apps and they are running with scissors. It's not perfect. Things are breaking, and I mean,
Mm,
Peter would probably knows about it. We take it for granted. Why is it not working? But it's lots of codes, as you say. I
mm,
mean, I'm valuing Peter and
yeah,
others. doing that. But as a user, we think it should work every time, but you have to build it. And sometimes it's breaking,
Yeah,
and sometimes you have to
yeah,
that
it's really sometimes and the thing is like even if you have the resources
yeah,
to you have the money to build something.
yeah,
I built a funnel on for a course program
yeah,
now on ClickFunnels 2.0.
yeah,
And I was like shocked. I mean, these guys are pros,
yeah,
and the code and the solution was like it was totally unstable. The website builder,
yeah,
it was totally to me at least. I
yeah,
mean, but I mean, I've used apps for some time. It didn't work, and then I switched to MailerLite.
yeah,
But I was like fascinated by how poorly it was written,
yeah,
and but of course that is because I'm so spoiled by Peter and the team,
yeah,
like because we are a bootstrap company, but we are too few people. But
yeah,
it's like well, they are just professionals,
yeah.
and
And
I'm
that's
really
why I
spoiled.
think, I mean, everyone has their role and division labor and want to do their stuff. But
Mm,
I think you should, as
mm,
again, as they are comfortable with, but highlighting them also and giving their gold stars and so on. For example, this
mm,
big play now, Twitter. I mean, if I don't pay the
mm,
people who are programming or doing the checkups or safety things, it will break down.
mm,
Then, of course, you
mm.
had probably lots of people in big
Yeah.
companies that have investors that sitting around doing so-called nothing, right? Also, so it's good to be lean,
Mm. Yeah,
but
yeah,
you have to
of
value
course.
that. But everyone has their own
Mm.
role, and especially you, Niklas.
Not too lean.
No, not
Yeah,
too lean,
yeah,
and also to
yeah, yeah.
to to take it, step by step. So, but again, and that's why you want to
Mm,
reach out on that also, saying, I mean, you have your subscription model, but it could be also that you could receive satoshis. I mean, that's what podcast
mm,
index you don't have to, but if you use like a new podcast app, 1% is going to the index in order to the servers and others and whatnot. But they are very lean machine. It's
mm,
like 2 people or 3 people or 4 people, but it's lots of volunteers, and they get credits also
mm,
in
Sounds
different
like
ways.
mm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I mean, in one sense, I kind of hope that the next round that we are doing, that we are gonna invite the whole market,
Mm,
or like the whole community as a market for investing in the platform, because essentially people are building the platform.
yeah,
Like we are all building it in different ways. So
yeah,
it would really be a nice thing to see that.
Wh-
I
wh-
mean, like Substack has done now.
yeah. And but they and I like Substack, and I will send you a philosophical commentary about that. So I'm all for it, but I also see that they
Mm,
are building their system that's pretty close in one way also. But as I said, the market will decide how it's working for them. But
yeah, yeah, I agree.
it's very
Mm,
interesting progress because the newsletters have been around for a long time, and but it's so seamless again. It's easy, but you should also know if you are
mm,
getting in there full, you are on their platform, you are sucked in there, and but it's very interesting. So I will send you an
yeah,
email and information about it. It is a startup that have been thinking about this for a long time about social media and what you create and what that could be worth. So I will,
yeah. I would be happy to
because they have that idea also how you could support their so-called mission and participate, but also get something for it. But again, I often say you have to have this critical mass. But you say you have, when we talked
mm,
at the beginning, you talked about this 100 or 10 or 1,000 and how you could build it.
mm,
So over time it
yeah,
will, I mean, happen. Even Facebook was small at the beginning,
yeah,
right? So now they are too big for their spats, as you say. I mean, it's not
yeah,
controllable.
yeah. Definitely. No, I mean, I think, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shoot out of this meeting because now I need to collect the kids.
Yeah.
And I have to do the same.
Yeah, and now you have to
but
promise me
nice
to listen to
session.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, and also like I really liked your walkthrough of podcasting 2.0. So I mean, before this I was like I need to check it out. But now I'm even more like I really need because we it's also like promising. I mean, it could be a test. We could test with this wallet and see if like we could somehow connect to this.
Yep.
Because I mean it's better to collaborate than to build it yourself.
Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, I have pinged you.
Right.
So check out
We
them.
get
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Thank you
you,
guys.
Martin.
Have a nice
Thank you,
Friday.
Nicholas.
Thank you for hosting this, Martin.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming in,
And well
participating.
Have a
done
nice
for running
Friday. Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.
So thanks, Niklas and Terry, and thank you for you that will watch the replay when I publish it later on. And I will, as I said, do it on a regular basis once a month, end of month on a Friday. I think that will be a good idea. The last Friday in the month, and then also here in Gothenburg, as it's called, the Gothenburg Podcasting Meetup, Got Pod Radio, to have physical meeting in city of Gothenburg. So the combination of that. So thanks again for watching, participating, and spreading the good word and adding your 2 cents to the conversation. So with that, I will take a sip here of yerba mate. Cheers. And talk to you soon again. Bye for now.